All right, everybody. Stocks by the numbers. Welcome back, and it's Tuesday, and I wanted to do a quick update here after market close. Just had to make sure what day it was, but just wanted to do a quick update here after market close. Wanted to do a quick look here at Fubo TV, ticker symbol FUBO, listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, the company was in this long-term downtrend here for about 6 or 7 months that we spoke about. I mentioned that, in my opinion, if they do want to keep it in this wedge and not break it out before earnings, we can potentially continue to step down here and then maybe start to see a breakout and a climb going into earnings, which are slated for the first couple of days in August. And again, analysts are estimating a loss of 14.4 cents a share on revenue of 368.312 million. And I thought that we might see a step down, like I said, and then a potential rally breakout going into earnings. And then if they beat, you see a pop. If they drop, if they miss, you see a drop back into the wedge potentially. But what we're seeing here is that we had some recent news. I know Fubo teaming up with Comcast, actually throwing their app on the Comcast platform. That's obviously going to potentially reach a handful of new viewers and potential subscribers. So on that news, we started to see a little bit of a climb. And we also had Needham recently update their price target on Fubo, and they actually lowered it. And they lowered it from 3 to 2, I believe, right here. They're still maintaining a buy rating. Even at 2, you're looking at over a third, right? You're looking at over 33% gains from this level even after the breakout. So in my opinion, I'd say one of two things are going to happen. Either markets are going to remain strong, Fubo is going to continue to climb. It looks like, see this last little flattening consolidation area before we had the next drop down? It looks like kind of mid-range, looks like about that 155 level. So in my opinion, that's going to be the key level, I feel, maybe over the next day or two. And we can continue to potentially climb up to 155, maybe like 157 or whatever the level might be, maybe even 160 here towards the top of these candles. But then that's where the test is going to begin. So I think that either obviously it's going to reject and maybe come back down and test this support trend line, or that's where it breaks up and closes above that level, and then maybe you start to see like the 170s and the 180s starting to head back towards that $2 level, going into the hype of the earnings coming out again in about 2 weeks from now. So only time will tell. But if we look short term here on the technical side, we can see that we did start breaking out above this this top trend line here of this wedge. And obviously that is a bullish signal. And you can see we had the comeback and the retest on July 10th, coming right back down to that top resistance trend line. And then we had the bounce and the pop, and we've been climbing ever since. So if we look at the starting point kind of the low coming out of that wedge, then we can see that that was Friday, June 21st. And you can see that that connected to June 25th, 2024. And then you had the slight flash below it, but you can see it basically meets up with the bottoms that were hit on July 10th as well. And just drawing that across, this is now on this breakout, in my opinion, this is now our support level of this trending breakout, right? So let's say we come up, I mentioned like 155, but maybe we come here. This is what, a 1-month chart? No, 3-month chart. And we could potentially come up to something like this fib right here, 149, maybe slightly above 150, right? And then it starts coming down and retests this 130 mark, or it potentially drops right down over the next week or two, and you see like this 126 again, and then it could potentially bounce and continue upward off of this support trend line. But in my opinion, it seems like the climb, or at least the potential flatness, the steadiness of the stock is going to remain, in my opinion, unless we come back down and not only retest, but of course break and close below this support trend line. And then we may potentially actually drop back into that wedge, because I know people, again, a lot of Wall Street beating this stock up, as you see, for the last like 7-8 months. So this breakout, in my opinion, could be viewed as a little premature. In my opinion, is justified. Again, the stock went to about $4 and hit new highs on its own merits. And we first found this back at $1. And now, as you see, recently, they brought it back down to the 110 level, made new highs, and now all of a sudden we started climbing out 20-30% from those lows. So the hype and the volume might be coming into the stock now with the earnings coming out. And of course, with that recent news of Comcast. We can go back, you can see, yep, from 3 to 2, still maintaining the buy. But right here, Fubo launches app on Comcast platforms. Fubo said it launched Thursday, June 27th, a couple of weeks back. Launched Thursday, its app on Comcast platform Xfinity Flex. I don't know, I'm assuming what, like Subo, you say it? I don't know. Streambox and Xumo TV. Fubo shares were up 4%. And in my opinion, that could really only be viewed as another positive. But I feel like these earnings should technically really bring the stock up back to 2, maybe even like that key 220, 2.25 level that we were holding at one point before we broke down and really started to drop. You can see revenue estimates again, 368 million. Last quarter, 381. They came out, they posted above 400 million, and they beat that by a decent amount. So I know the lawsuit is still looming. That's what a lot of investors are still hesitant on. Some people might say, in their opinion, even if Fubo comes out and beats earnings again, it doesn't matter. They want to wait, until the result of that lawsuit, and then they'll maybe consider stepping in and buying shares of Fubo. And of course, again, whatever you do with this information is entirely your own prerogative. This is just my opinion. But even now, the market cap sitting here at 420 million for a company that almost brought that in revenue last quarter. And of course, I understand there's a million other fundamentals to take into account, which we have looked at multiple times in the past. But right here seems more of a technical breakout, so I just wanted to reiterate the wedge and show the breakout of this wedge and show what this support trend line that I'm personally watching just over the next couple of weeks. And of course, just remind everyone, earnings coming up in about 2.5 weeks. And I wanted to look here at stock charts very quickly. I'll let you go. We can see here on the daily, the RSI is approaching that potential 70 benchmark, which is why I'm saying maybe another update, another 1 or 2 updates, maybe to like that 1.5 psychological level. We saw that fib at 149, and then maybe it'll start cooling down, right? The RSI will pull back, the stock will start selling off a little bit, and then it'll potentially bottom out, when this RSI comes back down to like 55, 50, and then potentially bounce it and rise it back up. You can see as well, you have basically that same almost support trend line going across the bottom here, these two bottoms of the RSI over the last several weeks. So, a couple of support levels to keep an eye on. MACD obviously has been climbing upwards now after we were flat for almost 2 months. Now we're starting to climb up here. Stock got back above the 50-day moving average of 126, which incidentally, again, is basically around the retest level of this support trend line. So we could potentially pull back and retest about that 1.25 level. But in my opinion, I think we should technically, in my eyes, run up to like this 160, 170 level going into earnings. And then if they beat, we should get back to this $2 mark. We can see on the daily here, 200-day moving average, 209. RSI, 66.5 on the daily, very close to that 70 benchmark. But again, on the longer term time frame here, switching over to the weekly, we can see we were sitting pretty well above the midpoint on the RSI, and then we completely came down, hit that 30 benchmark level on the longer term time frame, and now we've been on the up and up essentially since then. And you can see basically what's that, like 4 white, green candles, whatever color you use, but 4 up candles over the last 4 weeks. We can see we're back above the mid Bollinger Band on the longer time frame of 136. And now we can see the top Bollinger Band on the weekly time frame, 165. So again, we could potentially see something like up to 150, back down to this fib, 130, and then a bounce up to that 160, 165 level. And then we have the earnings, hopefully. And again, hopefully they're pretty solid and they come out with some good numbers. And they're trying to keep Fubo down, but we looked at a lot of these metrics the last time multiple quarters since the company has recently been reporting earnings. And again, they'll try to beat them up and make it seem like they're not growing as nicely as analysts want them to. However, they consistently show us that, revenue is up 15-20% in change year over year. They show us that subscriber growth is up basically the same amount, 18-20%, but Wall Street was looking for 24%. So the fact that they're kind of missing the mark according to what analysts are expecting, but at the same time, the growth cannot be denied. And you definitely can't put up your nose at 20% revenue subscriber growth and whatnot. So that's why I feel, again, if they want to kind of take it out of the spotlight and act like it's like a looming disaster with this lawsuit on the back burner, everyone waiting for the result, I guess it's kind of understandable. But again, in my opinion, I remind you, the stock almost got up to $4 on 2 occasions on its own merits from when we first started looking at it here on this channel, back when it was originally at $1. And they surprisingly basically brought it right back down to that level, and now it's been climbing ever since. So on the longer term time frame, RSI sitting here 43 and a quarter, not even the middle of the road. So that's why I feel over the next several weeks or potentially month or two, I do feel that Fubo should really rebound, and our 50-day moving average here on the longer term time frame, 213. So we have a 209, I believe, on the daily, and we have a 213 moving average here on the weekly. So in my opinion, that may be the next stop for Fubo over the next several weeks, going into and hopefully coming out of earnings with a good report. But that's pretty much it, so I'm going to end it there. But once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel, right? Of course. And subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain, they're very hard to read at times. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.